I 21M suspect my GF20F of 4 years cheated. I 21M suspect my GF20F of 4 years cheated. My girlfriend is the love of my life and is all the qualities I want in a lifelong partner. She is extremely cute, loving, kind, sweet and always lightens the mood. I am not a very social person and have a very small circle. We are a bit opposites but we enjoy our time together. She likes country concerts and I feel a little uncomfortable going to concerts especially if I don't know the artist's songs, so I allow her to go with friends. This weekend Friday-Saturday she went to the pub concert with her friend. My girlfriend was acting weird on texts, which led me to check her Instagram, where I noticed she was recently following a guy from her grandpa's work who she often visits. When I saw her on Sunday, I asked her if she had followed anyone recently and she admitted to following blah blah names. I asked to see his phone for the first time in 4 years. She claimed she left her phone downstairs, got up and wrapped her jacket around her phone and tried to get downstairs, but I called her and saw what she had done. She turned her back on me and fumbled with her phone for over 45 seconds, then showed me her DMs with Instagram already open. He did the same when I asked to see Snapchat. 20 minutes into the fight, a non-blah blah guy called her phone. I asked who it was and she said it was some guy her friend met at the concert. But of course her friend's phone was dead so my friend had to put it in hers. She then proceeded to delete the contact, delete recent calls and claim she doesn't have the number to give me when I ask. She says she loves me, she won't go to work or her grandfather's concerts without me or a trusted family member. He says the whole story is that he just unfollowed blah blah on Instagram before showing me even though he already admitted to following him and claims he would give me the non-blah blah number if he could. Of course I don't believe her. But I've asked and questioned her over and over again and got the same answer. I really don't think I can live without this woman, but I have currently blocked her on all of her accounts and told her to come to me when she is ready to give me her number. Story 2. Nuclear ghosting revenge on cheating fiancé. The players are myself, fiancé, fiancé's mom. Time frame 2013 to 2016. Of course it has been several years since the accident and I have never told anyone in my new life. I have some good wine to drink tonight and I think I'll let my fingers do the talking. I thought I had met the perfect woman. We met in our senior year of college. We met at a party and hit it off right away. She was a beautiful blonde with tan skin and could have been a model. She thinks of the Kate Upton type figure. She was kind, compassionate, understanding, a good listener and she had an active life with many friends. She loved my friends and it was amazing over the 3 years we've known each other how our groups of friends have blended together. Many of our friends have started dating. They were some of the best moments of my life. I had a master's degree in finance and she had a degree in contract law. This is just to say that we ended up being successful in our own rights, but I'm not sloppy when it comes to looks either. 5'11 plus 190 pounds and love the gym. I wasn't a super athlete, but let's just say I was built. But I was very shy and hadn't had many relationships before I met her. The first night we met, we were smitten. The first night we talked all night. Then there were daily texts, phone calls, then weekly dates, and after a year when I started my new job she moved in. I loved his family and his family loved me. Most of the time, his mother was more distant than his father, as he was to everyone. It was a whirlwind romance. After 2.5 years of happy vacations abroad, hiking and luxury vacations, I proposed to her. She said yes. I was over the moon. She did all the wedding planning. We talked about our future together, buying a house, the kids and the family trips we would take together and all that kind of stuff. Then it happened. One evening after we both returned to our apartment, she is a little distant. I think I understood it right away because we've always loved each other very much. This only happened about once a week for the first month after the proposal, then more frequently. I wouldn't have been the wiser, except that I listened a lot to Reddit on YouTube. So I waited and watched. Ignoring these attacks of mine would only last a few hours and then she would be back to normal. But after 6 months married and a year she was like this most nights. The weather was still great. Her relationship with her parents is still great, but during Thanksgiving at her parents' house in Louisville, Kentucky, we lived north of DC, she was distant with me in front of her mother. Now his mother was a very thoughtful woman. She took her daughter aside to talk to her and I could hear them arguing. After a few heated but muffled words, they returned to the rest of the family and carried on as if nothing had happened. I thought I could tell him about it later and I did. She didn't want to talk about it and asked me to wait until we got home to talk about it. I accepted because I liked him very much and I thought we could go through anything. Her mother was an older version of her. Same stunning look, just a few shades of gray in her long thick blonde hair. It's important later. At home I asked her about it and she didn't want to talk about it. After a week of prodding, she finally confessed that a man at work was trying to get to know her better. She wanted to see him, so she showed me her phone, and as I looked at it I noticed that all the messages that would have happened during the time she was withdrawn had been deleted. There was nothing unpleasant in the lyrics. But I went into her phone settings and turned on her tracker on her phone because we shared the same phone plan. And I honestly thought it would let me see that she was doing nothing wrong. Am I wrong? The second weekend after Thanksgiving, she threw a company Christmas party. I had planned to leave but got food poisoning and had to quit. She was picked up from our apartment by a friend as she was planning to drink heavily and have a DD for the evening. We planned to go out all night, so I told her to have fun and I would see her in the morning. So while I'm throwing up my bowels and can barely get off the bathroom for over half an hour, I grabbed my phone and looked where it was. First it was a restaurant, then the location of the corporate party, then a bar. None of this alarmed me until I saw his phone sitting in a downtown hotel. At this point I was unhappy in more than 3 ways. Bullet vomited from my BTT, mouth and now soul. I finally fell asleep due to sheer exhaustion at 2 a.m. At 7 I woke up and saw that he was still in the hotel. At noon he finally comes home and I am healing. She loves me and I asked her about the night before without saying anything about knowing where she is. She talks about the restaurant, the party, the bar, but then she says she went to a friend's house to stop for the evening. First lie. For the next 3 months, she had to start working later and later, 3 to 4 days a week. When I start asking her about it, she gets more and more defensive. I was talking to her mother one night when her fiance was coming home late. I asked her mom about the Thanksgiving conversation and she admitted that she thought her daughter would walk out of our relationship because of the way she interpreted her body language. She also said her daughter has become increasingly distant with her in her weekly text conversations. With all the speculation going through my head, I kept it to myself. 2 weeks later, I had a new project at work at my company that required me to fly to the Midwest Monday through Friday for the next 5 weeks, starting at 2 weeks. This came with a pay raise, and when I broke the news to my fiancée, she was happy for me. However, I didn't think she was excited for the same reasons I was. So I went online and ordered 4 motion-activated spy cameras for my apartment. I placed one in the living room entrance, one in the kitchen, one in our bedroom, and one facing our hallway. They were very small and connected to the internet via a hidden network, so they could not be detected on the Wi-Fi network. I secured and maintained the cameras with a password. In my first week she had girlfriends the first 2 nights and never worked more than once. On the 3rd night, a guy came by. I was angry. I'm sitting there in my hotel room yelling into the monitor and calling him every name that's in the book. Then they went all the way, first on the couch, then in our bed. She was looking for ways for him that I didn't know were possible. The worst part is that while I watch them pick it up, I call her to see how her day went. She hears her phone ring and holds up her hand so he can't give her anything else, and she answers the call. I ask why she breathes heavily and she said she was working out at the gym. As soon as the conversation is over, she goes right back to getting dirty. When I got home on Friday night, I ignored her and went straight to bed, and on Saturday, I got up early and went for a bike ride. I was so upset I didn't even realize I had cycled over 50 miles from home. The longest distance I cycled was 30 miles. But that day, I rode 105.6 miles. When I came back completely exhausted, I took a shower. Then that night she and I went out and had fun with our friends and had a lot of drinks. Is it breakup time when the one you're breaking up with is oblivious? I burst into it. Heartbreak, anger, rage, feelings of betrayal all swirled through my heart and mind. She, who was so thoughtful, hadn't noticed. She hurt so much because I loved her so much. I ended up confiding in one of our mutual friends and he told me they've all known this for months. In the end I was told, they were all sorry for me, but nobody said anything to me anymore. That's why they stopped inviting us. I hadn't noticed it before, but I could look back and see that about 3 months ago we were being invited less and less, so I figured I'd try and win her back the following weekend. I planned the whole weekend as a full weekend to spoil her in every possible way. Eating and drinking, pampering her, massaging her, petting her and talking to her about future plans and how much I loved her. I knew I was breaking down when she started crying after the 4th glass of wine, and I could see her guilt bubbling to the surface. I asked her what was wrong, but she choked every time she tried to speak. I then told her that if she had done anything in the past or had some sort of conflict on her mind that she should tell me about it. I was more than willing to tell her about it, and if forgiveness was needed then so was I more than willing to forgive and move on. The only words that came out of her mouth were how much she loved me. It really hurt to hear this from her, as I now had 4 separate videos of her and the other guy in our apartment doing it. Over the next 8 weeks of the trip to the Midwest, the trips lasted 10 weeks, I logged over 41 hours of what I found to be his time with his colleague. She never worked late while I was away. I tried to be more observant each weekend, and each week she became more and more distant. After watching this for 8 weeks, I was done, so I created a 12-step escape plan. 1. Gather the evidence. 2. Keep them out of the way of my plan. I have planned an exclusive 2-week getaway for us at an all-inclusive resort in Barbados. She was delighted. Then, a week before the trip, I said I had to back off and told her to bring a friend with me. I knew it was over when she didn't show disappointment that I couldn't go. She asked a colleague to come with her. 3. Terminate our rental agreement. It was due 3 days after her trip, and I was the sole signatory on the lease. 4. Get a job in another city. The company I'd helped in the Midwest had offered me a job with a slight pay raise. 5. Find a new apartment. I have an apartment in the location above. When it's gone, run. 6. Take her to the airport, return home and pack all her things same day. Saturday. 7. Get a new phone, telephone, email number. Cancel all social media. Monday. 8. Separate us completely from each other in regards to finances. I took all the money out of our joint accounts and then closed them. I put all his money in an envelope and put it in his stuff. Monday. 9. Have the movers pack up all my stuff and ship it west. Monday. 10. He takes all his belongings to his mother's house, 600 miles away. All of my fiance's belongings fit in the backrest and bed of my F-250 crew cabin. From Tuesday to Saturday. 11. Give the proof to his mother. 12. Starting my new life, I didn't want to do anything illegal, so I made sure he didn't miss anything. It was so hard to put all her things neatly away. I have never cried so much in my life. I've read about it so many times on Reddit that so says if they get caught they'll never do it again, but they don't stop. I hoped she would sincerely confess so we could forgive and move on. She never did. Twice she got really close, but her secret was too hard to tell. I left our North Washington apartment for the last time on Tuesday morning. It took 10 hours to get to her mother's house. What happened when I arrived was not prepared. I arrived at her mother's house around 8 in the evening. I assumed she would be surprised to see me since I came downstairs unexpectedly. Since they lived in a gated community, I had to ring their doorbell from the front door, so she was waiting for me outside when I pulled up. I could tell she was crying when I went to see her. I asked her what was wrong and she hugged me and told me that her husband was cheating on her with a much younger, slimmer and prettier woman. Stunned, I just held her for probably 10 minutes. He drenched my right shoulder with his tears and snot. When she finally calmed down, I asked her if we could talk. We went in and I asked where her husband was and she indicated that she said he had gone fishing with his mates at a remote cabin an hour away. She then said, he hates fishing. She gave me all the clues she gathered and apparently it had been going on for about a year. So after doing some research we found a credit card charge for a 5-star hotel which was only 20 minutes away. The call later confirmed that her husband was indeed there for a 4-night stay to cheat on his stress. 2 P's in APD, I said. What? She responded. 2 P's in APD, I said again. Your husband is cheating on you and your daughter is cheating on me. That's why I came here to drop her stuff off and move to Forex. I showed him the evidence in a folder on screenshots I had taken. After looking at the first 3 or 4 pages, she looked at me in amazement. We both hugged and cried for a good 30 minutes. At that point she told me to stop crying and looked at me and said, well, there's nothing we can do about it tonight except you and I will knock out those 3 bottles of Moscato and duck in every room of the house. She grabbed 2 wine glasses and a bottle of Moscato wine and walked over to her private pool deck and said, are you getting out of here or are you going for revenge? I won't go into too much detail now because I don't want to get any blue balls, but that night and for the next 3 days we dodged nonstop. I stuck myself in every hole her beautiful body had to offer. I must have CM-med in or on her over 25 times during that time. When those days were over, we said our goodbyes with passion and I drove to my new destination. She kept me updated on everything when the ex-fiancé got back. The day the groom returned was epic. I canceled my phone the morning of the day she came back. When the plane landed and called her for a ride, it said the phone was off. Apparently she let her lover take her home. He dropped her off and left. When she got to the door, a strange couple new tenants opened the door and she freaked out. I can't tell you how many times she tried to call me because the number expired again. She went to her friends to stay for a while since the colleague was already married. When she called her mother in a panic, her mother told her that I had come downstairs and dropped off all her stuff and mentioned that all her funds were there too. 600 kilometers away. Her mom didn't tell her that she had ducked me more in 3 days than her fiance and I had in the past 6 months. But she told him she knew she was cheating on me and I said I had found a new job, a place to live and a new career away from her and all the friends we had. And that his mother separated from his father because of infidelity. She apparently cried for days and took a week off. But alas, she found comfort in the arms of her married lover. His mother never told him where I was. I had completely cut that part of my life off. The only connection I had to that old life was my fiance's mother. And she has kept our secret to this day. Fiance was ghosted the mosted. Redditors' reactions with update. Redditor 1, this is such a great story. You even got to literally duck her mom. Redditor 2, yeah, now send that video of Al to the married couple and see how that goes over. Redditor follow up, the wife of the married guy deserves to know what her husband is doing behind her back. Redditor 3, absolutely epic. Classy and neat. I'm particularly amazed at how everything in your plan went so smoothly and fast, and that you even managed to get the cherry on top. Redditor follow up, classy and neat. I mean, he literally ducked her mom. I don't think that's very classy but extremely funny. Op comment, here is a little bit of the aftermath that happened. As for the timing of the events that let me leave her, a lot of it was extremely fortunate timing for the lease ending, the job search success and the phone plan ending. Things could have gone down much differently had any of those things been different. Aftermath. My ex-girlfriend's mother EFM has been in contact with me for several months since we had a mutual relationship loss and shared some sort of revenge against our SOs. However, none of our respective SOs found out what happened between EFM and me. EFM finally came to me after 7 months in my new location. But much to your disappointment, we just talked. We both actually regretted what we had done together, but acknowledged that it was in the past and in the heat of the moment. Hot days and moments. She said that her daughter knew that she EFM knew where I was and was very upset that she did not want to reveal my location. EFM asked if she could tell her ex where I was and give her a way to contact me. But I asked her not to tell her how I was in my new life. EFM and I have talked a lot about the possibility of her and her SO getting together and solving the problem. EFM said her husband was extremely repentant and honest about everything. EFM said she was very accepting and she had asked him what she would do to regain his trust in her. He gave her all of her digital passwords and showed her everything she had done to damage their marriage. EFM eventually got very angry, but she admitted that she was actually trying to fix the marriage. EFM said her forgiveness would come in time, but her trust would take longer. What brought him back to reality was her confronting him about the affair and showing him evidence of what his daughter had done to me. EFM was also a wonderful woman in every way. She also stated that if she divorced, she would be allowed to do it again. She took the phrase again and asked her what she meant. She told him that as soon as she found out she was cheating, she would duck the first suitable man she could find. He was devastated. EFM said they cried a lot and agreed to go their separate ways for a short time to give themselves time to articulate their thoughts and see if they both wanted to fight for marriage. They eventually went to see a marriage counselor and are still together as of May 2020. As for the ex-fiancé, well, she was devastated by what I did to her. When she finally went to her parents to pack her bags, she was shown the evidence of the affair and was extremely embarrassed. EFM had to change her folder so that if her father saw her, she wouldn't see the photos a father shouldn't see of her daughter. Regardless, the ex-girlfriend was crushed. Only months later did she find out that her mother had my contact information. The ex begged her mother for my information and it strained their relationship, but her mother also told her that if she tried to find and or contact me, all evidence would be destroyed for always from me on the internet. Issued. This ex-boyfriend's insistence on disclosing my information prompted her to come see me. She was also angry that her parents had problems in their marriage. According to EFM, the ex-boyfriend had been depressed for several months and was seeking help. She immediately broke off with a co-worker when she returned from her parents' home in Louisville, Kentucky, looking for a new job. I recently decked 2019 found out that she was married and has 2 beautiful twin daughters with a man on her feet and still lives in the DC area. According to EFM, she was now working from home and loving her new life. I am happy that she was able to recover from her shipwreck and start life again happily. I recently destroyed all the incriminating evidence I had on my ex-fiance because I didn't want to be the guy holding her hostage for the rest of her life. I asked EFM to tell my ex-fiance about it. If I had been the potential recipient of this information bomb, it would have given me many sleepless nights. As for me, let's say that I'm happy with my current life. EFM and I used to talk to each other every few months, but now we talk once or maybe twice a year. It's usually a quick note in which they update each other on small life changes. The only question that remains unanswered for me is if EFM and her husband could arrange their marriage, would it be possible for the ex-fiancé and I to arrange ours? But I never gave him a chance. We can only speculate. Our life happens on a completely different level now.